getting late in the day, needed to get in a practice session, so I figured, why not talk a little bit about my practice philosophy? Let's get into it. Spin it. I hope you all don't mind, but I'm going to practice a little bit while I'm doing the video, give you a little insight as to my practice regimen. But I coach my athletes, my softball girls, that you play how you practice. I'm the same way when I go into a practice session as an individual. I have to have a plan. How long am I practicing? What skills I'm not on my toes? What skills am I trying to improve? What drills am I doing to improve those skills? And write it down. Plan it out. Don't just haphazardly go into a practice. Structure it. And then stick to the plan. I mean, you can improvise a little bit, but for the most part, the structure should flow naturally, and your practice should build on itself. So create a plan, write it down, stick to it, be deliberate. The second thing is to stay focused, he says as he practices while he's recording a YouTube video. Don't be distracted. Concentrate on what you're doing. And you can see that it takes a lot to concentrate on a drill. So you need to be in a place where you can concentrate on what you're doing. Set a designated time every day and a designated area where you can go and just focus on practicing without being distracted on playing with the kids or picking up the yard or looking at the birds. If you have to go away from your house, go away from your house. Like I have a rec right across the street that I'll take my stuff over and practice over there if I have to. And also make the practice enjoyable. Make it fun. Use tools, use props, use a camera. Something to keep you engaged in your practice and to make it profitable. Just stay focused while you practice. The last thing is be consistent. A lot of people, they'll practice every once in a while. Some people don't practice for a week at a time. And really, that's not going to benefit you. You need to be much more consistent. And this is just a drill where I'm gripping it pretty hard. I'm not worried about form right now. I'm just gripping and ripping. Being consistent about practicing is vital to practicing. Like, create a schedule. Seriously, you need to be practicing. It should be daily, but at least 4 times a week. And I say daily with a grain of salt, because as you know, may have gathered, I am a Christian, so I go to church on Sundays. Sunday is the day that I don't play disc golf. I play disc golf 6 days a week. Sunday is my day of rest, so I don't play disc golf on Sunday, which, yes, interferes with some tournaments, but that's just the way it is. But for me, practicing 5 days a week, that's my schedule. I'm out here 5 days a week practicing, throwing into the net, putting, doing my footwork drills. So yeah, you have to be consistent and make it a routine. It's easier to stay consistent if you make it a routine. Set a set schedule, set time every day, make sure you adhere to it 4-5 times a week. And it doesn't have to be forever. I tell my pitchers, this is vitally important with pitchers. I tell them, if you want to pitch at a high school level, you have to be outside with a ball in your hand every day, or almost nearly every day. And it can be 15 minutes. It can be 15 or 20 minutes. It doesn't have to be an hour, hour and a half. I mean, there's times where you need to do that. Give it 15, 20 minutes every day, and you'll be surprised. Be deliberate, stay focused, and be consistent about your practices. So let's talk a bit about the drills that you do while you're practicing. The first thing that I will tell you is, don't forget the fundamentals. And this is a This is a coaching style for sure. There are some coaches that don't see as much value as I do in the fundamentals. They feel that once you reach a certain level, you move on to another drill. My viewpoint is the fundamentals are the building blocks of your success in your sport. And if you neglect the fundamentals, then you limit your ability to progress in the sport. And maybe it's not every practice, but majority of the practices, you should be doing fundamentals. You saw me doing the infinite X step, right? Josh told me the progression of the infinite X step is the next one that you saw me do, the balance X step. And he's like, the balance X step's so good, you don't need the infinite X step anymore. And I'm not going to argue with him. Me as a coach, I like to do that stuff, but because it keeps me grounded in the fundamentals. That infinite X step is the fundamentals of my footwork. So I'm not going to do it all the time, but I'm going to do it every once in a while to ground me in that fundamental. Don't neglect the fundamentals of the sport. I still have my high school girls go through iterative throwing progressions every practice, because throwing is a foundational building block for softball. So every practice, they do wrist flips, they do elbow extensions, they do standstills, they do one steps, and then they do full throws. They do throwing progressions every single practice. That's just how I coach, and that's how I practice myself. So don't neglect the fundamentals. And the last thing I'll go over with you about drills is be picky. And this is something that some people disagree with me about, and maybe I am too hyper-focused on this, but I like to do things with precision, and I am very OCD about doing things with precision. I like to do the same thing the same way every single time, and I don't like to think about it. But there's only one way to get there, is to be infinitely picky about how you drill. My mentality is now is the time to do it during practice, when I have the availability to be able to be picky and focus on a particular part of my form and drill down and be very picky about it. My philosophy is that if I do that in practice, then when I get to live performance, I don't have to think about it because I've spent the time thinking about it in practice. I tell my girls that if you practice like you're playing in a game, then when you play in a game, it feels like you're practicing and everything comes naturally. And that's when the game starts slowing down and starts becoming easier. So be picky, nitpick yourself. Like, don't be overly critical, but be very detailed and precision in your drilling, and make sure your drills are progressive. Like, every sports move is very complex and incorporates various aspects. There are various steps that you go through with every sports movement. So be progressive, break down the movement into smaller portions and focus on each portion until you get it right, and then start building on it, and then put it all together at the end. I think that is the best way to get the most out of your practice. Focus on detailed, precision functionality of your movement. And if you do that, then once you get out on the course and into a tournament, it just comes naturally. Your body's ready to go and you don't have to think about it. You just do it. Well, there you have it. That's my philosophy behind practice. I hope this has been helpful to you. I mean, at the very least, maybe I've brought out some ideas that you haven't thought about before that you can incorporate into the way you practice. Practicing is the only way you're going to get better at the sport. You can't do it by just going out and playing on a course, because then you'll start ingraining those bad habits from playing on a course. The only way that you can improve your game, I feel, or the only way I can improve my game, is if I come back into this environment and start breaking down everything that I need to focus on and get it right, so that when I go out onto the course, my body's used to it and it just comes naturally. Thanks for listening to my babblings and musings. Again, hopefully it is a little bit helpful to you and you found some value to it. But until next time, enjoy the journey. And here's your verse of the day.